Allie McMurphy is the new proprietor of the historic McMurphy Hotel and Fudge Shop. It's been in her family for generations, and it is one of the most beloved landmarks of the Mackinac Island. Allie is in the middle of renovations when she finds the dead body of Joe Jessup in her utility closet, and suddenly, nearly the whole town suspects her of his murder. Hi, I'm Neri, and I am extremely cold, but it's also Cozy Saturday, a series where I tell you about the most recent cozy mystery that I've delved into, give you a non-spoiler review, the rating, tell you whether or not I'd continue the series, and then move into the more spoiler review. Today I'm talking about All Fudged Up by Nancy Coco, and this is the first book in the Candy Coated Mysteries. As always, let's start with some positives. First of all, the character of Allie McMurphy is actually very sweet and very endearing. She's kind of almost naive in a way. Her backstory, which we learn very early on, is basically that she is just out of school. She's been studying hospitality and has a desire to take over her grandfather's hotel. However, she was supposed to do that kind of under his tutelage on the island when she got there. But a few weeks prior to our story opening up, he passed away. So that leads us into who is Joe Jessup, which we get to almost immediately in the beginning of this story, which is Joe Jessup is someone who's known her grandfather for a long time, and they play pranks on each other. So when she finds his body, she's mortified, and we get a ton of internal monologue on what she's thinking, and I find it to be very realistic in terms of being a person who may have a delayed reaction in finding a body and being shocked, on top of which being in a new environment that she thinks that she knows of but doesn't really know as well as she thinks she does. She's not considered at this point a real resident of the island. She states that she visited the island, she visited her grandparents when she was young, in the summer times. But that's not the same as being a full-time resident. But now she's here, she's hoping to stay, she's hoping to continue her family business. But of course, a dead body is going to put a hamper on everything. I really liked the way that she viewed things and how even in subtle ways, we could tell that she was an outsider to this community, but how much she wanted to fit in and how much of her sense of justice is there in all the little things that happen to her. The overall setting is really good. I wouldn't say that I'm able to fully create a mental map of the island. However, the discussion of the other businesses and the fact that the police come up in a bike and the EMTs roll up in a, I forget if it's a carriage or a wagon. I don't think it would be a wagon, but it's horse-drawn. They don't use cars on this island. It is definitely an interesting way to kind of set it, and if there is a place that's absolutely like this, I would love to visit it. I don't care if it's touristy, that just sounds really cool to me. They have a certain feel and historic aesthetic that they like to keep, and the author continues to keep that alive, but also bring in the fact that the world around these people are changing, and a lot of the residents on the island, they are elderly, and that gap between them and tourists and modernization is very subtle, but it's really nice that it's there. I also felt like there was a lot of really good tension when it came to this story. Some of it I feel was totally unwarranted, and I'll get more into that later on, but no matter what, as a reader, you feel it. That sense of justice that Allie feels, you're right there with her because oh my god, the way she gets treated just because she's a suspect to the town, not even to the police or even all of the police force. There are also really cute supporting characters. There's a puppy and it's super cute. And also the mystery is actually really good. I thought like probably about the middle of the book, or like I would say a fourth of the way into the middle of the book, that I would have gotten in my head kind of an idea of what the mystery was going to end up being like, and I didn't. I got elements that it included, but I didn't get all of the elements that made it such a really good mystery. And so with the twists that actually happened, I do appreciate those. So what didn't I like about this series? I felt the townspeople were kind of ridiculous to an embarrassing degree, almost super cartoonish in the way that they reacted after the death of Joe Jessup. It's really, really weird. I don't know that a town is doing as much mourning as they are just being comical at that point. Also, Allie is in the middle of renovations, and Joe Jessup is found dead in her utility closet, but then the cops are like, okay, you can't touch this floor where he was on, but you can still renovate, like, as if that's an okay thing. Like, but you kind of get immediately how unserious this town is, because Allie finds the body, she calls 911 as you are supposed to do, and the dispatcher picks up and she's like, first she doesn't think it's Allie, because she's like trying to get the girl to send someone out, not so much introduce herself. And so the dispatcher thinks that she's somebody else and she's just joking. Then Allie calls back and introduces herself this time, and the dispatcher goes, oh, well, Allie McMurphy, if you just wanted to talk, here's this other line that's, less pressing. I believe it's just like, it's either to her direct line or to her direct line at the station. The way it was written actually confused me a bit, because originally I thought it was her direct line, but then later on people ask Allie like, hey, how come you called like into the department instead of like 911? But it's the same girl who picks up. Okay. So finally, after calling this number, Allie says, this man is dead. Please send somebody. And the girl finally gets the message, but she says, why didn't you call 911? I almost put the book down at that point, because I was like, this is what you give me to work with. It was just so unserious that I was just like, a man is dead. Please send help. The cop they sent out is very professional, but even then I question the fact that he would allow the renovations to still go on, because even if Allie is on a deadline because she wants to get the renovations done before opening for the tourist season, it's like, she's in shock, so I kind of get it. Her brain still has to grapple with the fact that she found a dead body and what this means for her and what this means for her life there and her livelihood. But I still think it would have probably been the professional thing to allow for the investigation to continue until they can't gather any evidence anymore. But I guess that's just not how they do it on the island. The business also doesn't make sense. And the end result of how she keeps the business going is really convenient for like no reason. It makes sense for the mystery, but ultimately I would have also liked it if you're going to come into some money, that there's a little bit of a fight for it, especially due to the circumstance of the mystery itself. There is a little bit of a love triangle in the book, but not really. In that I mean that I think there is a setup for a love triangle, but one of these romances is rushed and only one has chemistry. And it's not the one that's rushed. And also, I don't know if that was a one-off event. Regardless, there is some obvious romantic, someone is interested in Allie. We don't know if the second person is, or if he's just flirts with people often and is just like that, is what I will say. Allie, on the other hand, is kind of, she likes really attractive men, which is no big deal, but she kind of loses track of things when they come into the picture, and then she's got to write herself a little bit. I will say that sometimes that is a little bit annoying. So overall, I rated this book a 3 out of 5. I think it was a really good introduction, and it is a little bit slow in the beginning and almost infuriating the way the townspeople are in the beginning, but I'm glad I pushed through it because it actually got really, really good towards the middle and the end. The twist I definitely did not expect, and I will be continuing this series. I think it's definitely something worth continuing. However, it is one of those books where it's not like the recipes are at the end of the book, it's like throughout the book. So then I have to go through the book to find the recipes, which I don't know if anybody else has any kind of feelings about that, because I know we mostly talk about the story here, but you know they come with recipes sometimes. It's good to know where your resources are. Let's go into the spoilery review. So this is your warning. I'm going to talk about it now. So after the death of Joe Jessup, the town is divided. And this division also plays in part to the fact that Joe and Liam, Allie's grandfather, had a long-standing rivalry. But they're also longtime friends who prank each other all the time. It doesn't make sense for Joe to be in the utility closet weeks after Liam had died, though. So Allie's like, I know who Joe is. I've seen him before, but I have nothing against him. I just basically got here and then my grandfather died, so it doesn't really make sense to be suspicious of her. But the townspeople are suspicious of her because of a long-standing feud between the Jessups and the McMurphys. So in this divide, the townspeople have co-opted these ribbons. If you're wearing a green ribbon, you are on the McMurphy side. If you're wearing a purple ribbon, you're on the Jessup side. Well, here's where the hypocrisy comes in. They think Allie is an outsider to the island, and Trent Jessup, who is Joe Jessup's his grandson, is an islander. So they choose him and throw support behind him, and a lot of people wearing purple ribbons. However, they apparently think that she's enough of a McMurphy for this feud to just continue. That she would do harm to Joe Jessup, which doesn't make sense. And that's just the people who are truly mourning for Joe Jessup. That doesn't include the people who are just kind of doing it for a spectacle. Because a lot of people are, or just to join the bandwagon. And it's really sad and embarrassing. And this is not what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. And they treat Allie horribly over this, despite the fact that no one has any evidence that she did anything wrong. And she's not even really a police suspect. Because if she was a suspect, I guess they would have actually took the crime scene investigation a lot more seriously than they did, because she's still doing renovations. Again, still an issue that I think is really weird, but okay, it's a small island. I don't assume that they have a big force to take over everything, or they're just more relaxed with the things that they have to do. But on top of which, because of this island divide, some of the police force are divided, and Officer Manning, who is the first one to respond to that call that Allie made, he's not one of them, thankfully. But a lot of the police officers wear purple ribbons, are in fact supporters of the Jessup family, not just in terms of, oh, this is what looks good, or, you know, it's the thing to do, but they have some type of relationship with that family. So she has pretty much everybody on that police force except Officer Manning against her. She's supposed to have a lawyer who was supposed to come into town. We hear him mentioned, but he never does anything. I liked how this added to the town setting, this ribbon, the mentality of the people. But gosh, it was kind of irritating to deal with in the beginning, especially when she's trying to socialize or get things done for the hotel, and everybody is just in her way for no reason other than to be. And of course, when I hear historic hotel and the owner is dead. The granddaughter is considered an outsider, and then there's a body in the utility closet. One of the first things I thought of was, oh my god, is this a real estate thing? Because they're gonna try and get the land from under her. That would have been the obvious thing, and I'm glad that the mystery didn't go that way, although people did make propositions to her to purchase that hotel. I overall just really liked this mystery. The unfortunate thing is that I did find it a little creepy that Allie was basically living by herself in this giant hotel that was closed but apparently very easy to break into. But you know, it does seem like probably multiple people went in and out of that hotel without her realizing it. At one point, a woman named Mabel just strolls on into the lobby because it's open, the doors are open and stuff, because she's got people coming in and out during renovations. So basically, if someone was really feeling like squatting there, they could just sneak in during the day while the contractors are working, and then hide, and they would have a place to rest for the night. Like, what is the security level here? Also, the grandson of Joe Jessup, Trent Jessup, is supposed to be a really gorgeous guy and kind of a cowboy because they work with horses and stuff like that. And he's part of the love triangle-ish, but okay. The thing I don't like about Allie is that she kind of lacks a little bit of empathy, but so does the whole town. So her lack of empathy is not even nearly as close to their lack of empathy, right? But she knows that in the town's eyes, she's a murder suspect, and yet she'll show up to, like, I think it was a memorial for Joe Jessup with some food, and it was like supposed to be like a gesture of goodwill that people do, and she wanted to return the favor because Trent's sister Paige had also done the same thing for her father. But the difference is, one of these two women were not suspect in a murder. I think it would have been at that point a good idea to give the family some space. I don't know. At least I wouldn't have gone and expected to be let in, because she kind of expected to be let in. Also, Trent Jessup, when he's finally like, okay, I don't believe that Allie did anything, he's going to show the townspeople that there's no bad blood between them by kissing her, which I don't know if that is a one-off or not. This is why I'm like, maybe there's a love triangle, because she keeps saying that he's hot. But also, he has great chemistry with her best friend who comes down to help her. So I don't think that, but surely there was a way to show that you guys had put the feud behind you without doing this thing that seemed very forced. But it may also be because I'm pretty much officially team Officer Manning, because he actually has chemistry with her built up, and I do love a slow burn if that's what it turns out to be. Anyway, I am definitely continuing this series because I want to see how this character grows, and because her best friend was in Chicago and she came out to help Allie. Her best friend, oh, I forgot her name, but she also studied hospitality to become an event planner, and so I think that they could do a lot of wonderful things with the hotel, and I want to see them both grow in their roles and see what happens. I also really want to see how the town treats her after this, because this whole episode was embarrassing for everyone. So if you watched this far, thank you so much for joining me for Cozy Saturday. The next book that I'm delving into is a paranormal cozy, so I am very excited to get into that, and I will see you next time. Bye!